Have you ever wondered what it's like to travel the world or what it's like to live in other countries? Today's guest has lived and traveled all over the world, and we'll talk about the unique experiences that he went through. The Humanities Mass Communications Department at Norwalk Community College presents The New Directors, the show that introduces you to television's future writers, directors, and personalities. Now join our host, Chloe Thompson-Smith, to meet the new director.
Thank you for joining us today's edition of New Directors. All of the people involved with the program are students in the television production course and are directing, switching, controlling audio, operating cameras, and acting as talent for the first time today. The guests you will meet on the show are students who are, when not on camera, are behind the scenes working hard to bring this program to you with a few mistakes as possible. Each student has written and directed 4 different productions. The program will give you them the chance to talk about themselves and the production they've created and give you the chance to get to know them and enjoy some of the work they've done during the semester. Our guest today is a world traveler who has lived and visited all over the place. We would love to meet our guest today, Andrew Walling.
Thanks for having me, Chloe.
Yeah. So, it seems like you had seen quite a lot around the world. Care to tell us about it?
Sure, yeah. I actually had a father who was, well-connected in the financial sector, so we moved all over the world when I was a kid. I've got some pictures of some of my travels that we can bring up if we can see it. I've lived in multiple countries. Born here, but then I moved out to Brazil really early. This is me in Maine.
Aww.
That's the Louvre.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's, I believe, Taipei, I think.
Wow.
I lived there when I was like 7. That's at the British Natural History Museum, place that I went to as a kid when I lived in London. That's London Eye, which again we went to when I lived over there. Yeah, I've lived in London, Brazil, Greece, Florida, Taiwan, Singapore, and in London, which is my favorite. This is actually my old elementary school in Taiwan. And this is where I used to live in London.
That's so nice.
It's Piccadilly Circus, I believe.
Yeah.
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 Globe Theatre, which I went on many field trips to.
Yeah.
That's Sydney. I love that. I went there on a trip once when my dad took me, and it was one of my favorite places to go. That's actually my door in London.
I would love to go to Sydney, Australia.
Sydney's great.
Yeah.
It's huge heat, but it's a ton of fun. It's my old elementary school in Taiwan as well.
That's so cool.
Magna Carta and the British History Museum, again, one of my favorite places to go in London. The old church I used to go to. And this is Kuwait, where my dad took me like a couple years ago on business. This is in Winston Churchill, I believe, the army. And then, so I've been all over these places. And
if you had to go back to one, where would you go?
London.
London?
Every time. I love it. And
It's
then Disney, essentially.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, London's really welcoming.
Yeah.
And you just feel like it's just like a really beautiful country. And
yeah, there's just tons of history there, and I always love going out and seeing all those different places.
Cool. So, could you tell us why you decided to take film and TV?
I wanted to learn more and hone my skills as as a director and as an editor, and I really like the film industry. I don't know, I haven't been in it yet, but I like I revere all the directors and the editors and the photography directors and all that kind of stuff. So I want to learn more, and I hopefully want to, someday at least transition into a job.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In the industry, yeah.
What are the most useful things that you've learned in this course?
I've learned a lot. Mostly is editing, using Avid a lot, and trying to learn all the editing techniques that I can. Mm-hmm. I know that there's stuff like cutting on the action is extremely important. Using close-ups is really key. It's so easy to mess up if you don't use close-ups. It's just a great way to divide footage so that you can cover up mistakes that you make in the filming process. So filming as much close-ups as you can, even just for a few seconds, just to break mistakes is super key. Then just some film techniques, like what makes a picture look good.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that every frame is interesting at some point.
Of course. Yeah.
So, there's stuff like lines of grace, you have lines of grace and emotion, you have framing, you have blocking, but that's more for, the actors and stuff. But so I've learned a ton, and hopefully I can put it to use.
Yeah. Can you please tell us about your projects, the Student Studies, Cup of Tea, Nature of Connecticut, and Orange Whore?
Sure. The first two projects that I have on here were actually from my previous attempts at this course. Student Studies is from my first year. Cup of Tea is from my second year. I was hoping to show, somehow how I've progressed as a student, just through, blunt trying to get as good projects as I can.
No, that's really smart.
So this is my first Student Studies. As you can see, I moved the camera there, so great. The actor is right in the center and doesn't use the rule of thirds here, which sets up an uninteresting picture.
Yeah.
And then you'll have a cut here, which looks awkward because he was still moving, and this is stopping, which is not cutting on the action. And so, that's Student Studies. This is my second project, Cup of Tea, which I actually thought turned out a lot better. Here we have some cutting on the action, which means the action is smooth from cut to cut and makes sense when you have the actor moving back and forth in and out of frame. Trying to keep at the 180-degree line in mind here. It was a cramped kitchen, but I made do as best I could. And I think it actually turned out pretty well. And then here's my nature project.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it took me 3 hours to get that.
That is so cool.
And so, I actually filmed, this is a shift focus right here, which is cool because I have, what I think it's cool. I have stuff in the foreground, the midground, and then ultimately focusing to the background.
Yeah, I really like that.
Here we have this is my continuous zoom, where we go in and then we kind of dissolve into a different one, and then finally ending on a goose.
Aww.
And this is my attempt at my orange project, which I'm going for a horror thing, so I'm trying to sort of cut back and forth. I will film reshoots with a different actor once I can find one.
Yeah.
And this is just, I'm trying to play around with light here, trying to see what I can do with that kind of stuff.
What did you end up feeling like was your best project in the end, and why did you choose that one?
I think nature. I think, just because I filmed during the winter, during the beginning of spring, and sort of into where it is now. So I have 3 different periods. I have snow into rain into sun, essentially. So I think that being able to sort of kind of tell a story with something that isn't really story-driven is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool that you
So hopefully we can see some more footage of it coming up. I actually had to trek out, so here's basically a continuation of it. So more shift focus here to another goose. We have more shots. This is all from Mead Park in New Canaan.
Oh, yeah.
Then what's coming up here is the reservoir at South Norwalk, trying to get at least some interesting lines in there.
You got the leaves on the trees changing color too?
Yeah. And trying to film as many sort of converging lines there with the treetops coming together.
Yeah.
This I tried to film cloud cover. It was a little hard since the ND filter. I had to turn on the ND filter on my camera but so we have parallel lines here.
Oh, I like that shot a lot.
Yeah, and more of the sort of the reservoir where I went to shoot. And so,
What was the most interesting skill you put to use? Why did you plan on using what you used?
The most important skill I'd have to say was definitely just Yeah, editing. Just cutting on the action is really important, and so is filming close-ups. Those things help me out way more in this year than anything else. Other than that, just trying to keep in mind the ideas of what makes a frame interesting, and hopefully I can use that stuff when I go to Kuwait this summer to film some of the desert.
That's awesome. Good luck in Kuwait too.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, today we got to meet someone who shared with us all of the places he had been. As a new TV director, he hopes to apply what he has learned here at NCC further and understand and appreciate the art of filmmaking. He also plans to use the new knowledge of TV1 and one day to work with the film industry. We would like to thank Andrew Walling for joining us today.
Had a great time, Chloe.
Yeah, thank you. We hope you enjoyed meeting one of the television's future director, and we hope you will continue to join us each week to watch our progress. Thank you and have a great day. Nice meeting you.
This has been The New Directors with your host, Chloe Thompson-Smith, directed by Stephen Kennedy. I'm your announcer, Justin Whitby. The New Directors is a Norwalk Community College student production.
I was just in London. I was born